Before we even get into the usual show, we need to talk about the flooding in Texas this week. It killed kids, wiped out homes. Families are burying children right now. And yeah, I'm pissed because instead of just grieving like human beings, so many fucking idiots online are melting down about whose fault it is politically. I've seen people seriously posting that Trump caused the rain, that he's to blame for climate change, for the storm, for the deaths. Like they're so addicted to hating the other side, they can't even shut up for a minute while families are planning funerals. It's disgusting. It's un-American. And I'm not going to let this show be part of it. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take 60 seconds, no talking, no jokes, just silence. Pray if you want. Reflect. Think about those families who don't give a damn about your hashtags or party affiliation because they're living a nightmare. They deserve at least that much from us.
You know what gets me? It's like people can't even pretend to care about the actual loss. Kids died, families have nothing left. But go look online. It's a non-stop blame game. This is Trump's fault. Republicans did this. Vote our way, or kids drown. Like, shut the hell up for 5 seconds and look at what really matters. Grief doesn't have a party. Death doesn't care about your hashtags. And if your first instinct is to spin tragedy into a campaign ad, you're not an activist. You're a vulture.
Exactly. It's so gross watching these partisan ghouls fight for social media points on top of kids' graves. Thoughts and prayers? No, let's argue about which politician controls the weather. The truth is, these families don't give a damn who you vote for. They just want their kids back. And we can't give them that. But the least we can do is shut up, stop posturing, and give them a moment of respect. That's what we're going to do here.
60 seconds, no talking, no jokes, just silence. Pray if you want. Think about those families, because they deserve that much. Warning, this podcast contains unfiltered logic, unlicensed sarcasm, and prolonged exposure to American values. Listener discretion is advised.
You're tuned in to Data and Dissonance, the only show where free speech isn't just a checkbox, it's a battleground.
We came armed with a mic, whiskey, and a deep-seated distrust of everything you were taught in journalism school.
This is Liberty, Lies, and Laughs, Episode 5 for July 7th, 2025. And trust me, we're going to need all three. All right, this is the part of the show where we'd usually hawk coffee, energy drinks, or tactical underwear if anyone were paying us.
If you're a brand that loves freedom, hates censorship, and doesn't mind a little sarcasm, we're taking sponsors.
Email us. Let's make capitalism beautiful together. Ad spots are open, rates are negotiable, and our audience is loyal, probably too loyal.
So here we are, 4th of July weekend. Land of the free, home of the constantly televised riot. You'd think people would be content blowing up fireworks, eating too many hot dogs, but no. We got burning cars, looted storefronts, and people screaming, "This is what democracy looks like," while chucking bricks at the police.
It's like we can't even have one holiday without some city turning into a war zone. And the worst part? Everyone's got their spin. Some outlets call it a righteous uprising. Others say it's domestic terrorism. And there's zero interest in asking why people are this angry or how to stop this cycle.
Exactly. You've got police departments in full riot gear, while city councils tweet about de-escalation. Meanwhile, the protesters split between people actually wanting change and these masked opportunists who think justice is a 60-inch TV they just boosted from Walmart. It's all theater, and no one's fixing anything.
And the media coverage is the most insane part. It's like two alternate universes. Channel 1 shows flames and chaos. Channel 2 finds the one guy playing guitar and handing out free water. No wonder the country's split down the middle when no one can even agree on what the hell happened.
It's willful blindness. Everyone wants to believe their side is blameless. Politicians point fingers everywhere but at themselves. Police unions blame City Hall. City councils blame police brutality. Protest leaders blame systemic oppression. The truth is, nobody's solving anything because the chaos is too politically useful.
And don't get me started on the labels. Mostly peaceful is the new punchline for anything short of an outright siege. But if it's your business that got burned, you don't give a damn how peaceful the rest of it was. Try explaining to your kids why the family car is a melted husk.
Look, we're not anti-protest. That's the First Amendment. That's supposed to be sacred. But there's a line, and when you cross it into arson, assault, and destruction, you're not exercising freedom, you're attacking it. And pretending there's no difference is just lying to yourself.
It's performative outrage. Burn it all down so you can get likes on social media. Or politicians giving the same tired speeches while nothing changes. Meanwhile, average people just want to barbecue in the backyard without worrying if tonight's the night the street turns into a riot zone.
And the long-term damage is real. Businesses leave. Neighborhoods decline. Insurance goes through the roof if you can even get it. And then everyone acts shocked when those same places become even more desperate and angry next time around. It's a feedback loop no one wants to break.
But breaking it would mean honest conversation about policing, inequality, civic responsibility. And you can't have that when everyone's too busy screaming slogans and calling the other side fascist or terrorist. No one's listening. No one even wants to listen.
I think it's deliberate. Politicians and media make money off division. They need us at each other's throats so we don't notice they're not fixing anything. They're selling outrage and we keep buying it, even when it burns down our own neighborhoods.
At the end of the day, protest is supposed to be about making things better, holding power accountable. But burning your own city to the ground doesn't punish the powerful. It punishes your neighbors. And that's not justice. That's self-destruction.
So yeah, this weekend wasn't about patriotism or free speech in some places. It was about rage with no plan. And until we can tell the difference between a protester and an arsonist, we're going to keep having this conversation after every holiday that's supposed to unite us.
And the saddest part is, next year it'll be the same. Politicians will blame each other, media will pick sides, and average people will pay the price. Maybe it's time to stop buying the narrative and start demanding better. Because right now, this is just the definition of insanity.
And if you think your freedom depends on destroying your own community, you don't understand freedom at all. That's the tragedy here. And no one's brave enough to say it. Except, well, us.
This episode is brought to you by Tactical Diaper. For men who won't pull out of a firefight or a relationship too soon.
Built tough, holds the line, holds everything. Because real men adapt to any terrain, even when it's the nursery.
Available in camo, desert tan, and woodland. Comes with Molly-compatible baby wipes pouch.
No leaks, no regrets, no plan B, no problem.
Not responsible for child support payments, emotional trauma, or long-term commitment.
Moving on, there was a major development from the Supreme Court this week. They just narrowed the power of so-called nationwide injunctions the kind that automatically froze Trump's executive order on birthright citizenship. That means federal courts can't just slap a blockade across the whole country without a proper hearing. It's a long overdue move to check unaccountable judicial overreach and restore power to elected officials, not activist judges.
Democrats are losing their minds, claiming this is the end of civil rights and that judges are supposed to be the final authority. What they don't want you to see is how judges have been wielding that injunction power like a gavel from Mount Olympus, shutting down policies nationwide on a single judge's whim. That's not democracy, it's judicial tyranny.
Look, this isn't just about Trump. It's about reversing the trend where any policy a liberal judge dislikes can be blocked across all 50 states on a weekend with zero input from Congress or the people. Now you have to go state by state, case by case, restore balance, restore accountability.
Think about that. Unpicking a nationwide order is like dismantling an unelected super legislature. They called it judicial activism. We call it resisting the will of the people. And yes, they blocked birthright citizenship. But overturning how judges could override policies is a structural shift.
You ever notice how no one cared when activist judges used this power for liberal causes? It was necessary checks and balances. But now, when it's used to block policies conservatives care about, suddenly it's a crisis for democracy. Doesn't matter which side you're on. It's still undemocratic if one person can halt national policy.
It's about more than immigration. It's about who holds ultimate power. This decision says no to one-person rule. It forces judges to do the difficult work. Hearings, arguments, evidence, not weekend edicts on nationwide policy.
Yeah, and as an America First guy, I want control over our borders, but I also want control to come from elected leaders, not a judge in California carving up national policy. If we let courts rewrite law without accountability, we're free only when judges allow it, not when voters decide.
And if you're okay with nationwide injunctions, just think. Tomorrow, a liberal judge could block tax reform, gun rights, any executive action, even domestic appointments with one weekend ruling. That's power without representation. We fought a revolution to avoid exactly that.
Now don't expect this to end quietly. The left will call it a judicial coup. But the real coup was when they replaced legislative debate with single-judge shutdowns. This ruling doesn't take rights away. It simply returns decision-making to Congress and the people.
So yeah, this was a big week. Courts finally forced to operate with real accountability. Federal policies can't be frozen nationwide on a whim. It's a win for the rule of law. And if you believe in democracy or in America First, you should be celebrating this.
But don't expect the leftist media to tell you that. They'll claim civil rights are under attack, when in reality the people are under attack from unelected judicial decrees. We're just asking, due process for everyone, judges included.
Bottom line, policy comes from the ballot box and Congress, not from secret rulings issued over a weekend. That's the kind of structural change that can actually save this country.
So yeah, birthright citizenship still being litigated, but the bigger story is judicial restraint. That's the story I'll tell my grandkids about. Not who spoke at a protest, but who actually returned power to real Americans.
It's not about left versus right. It's about rule of law versus judicial fiat. And this decision is a win for rule of law, but the fight's not over. Judges will keep pushing. We have to keep pushing back.
Remember this. Democracy isn't vote weekend rulings by one judge. It's messy, it's slow, but it's accountable, and it's ours. If it wasn't, they wouldn't be so afraid of this ruling.
All right, time to drop this week's red pill. Let's talk about these so-called digital dollar pilot programs the Fed is testing. They're selling it as modernization, convenience, cashless transactions, instant transfers. But if you actually pay attention, you'll see this is the infrastructure for total financial surveillance. Once your money's programmable, they can track every dollar you spend, where you spend it, even block transactions they don't like. Think it's paranoid? Look at China's social credit system. Imagine a government that can freeze your account for hate speech or refusing a vaccine or donating to the wrong political campaign. Don't buy the marketing. This isn't innovation, it's control.
Yeah, but Rachel, I'm sure the government's going to use that power responsibly, like the IRS accidentally leaking private tax records or the NSA not spying on us for 20 years.
Honestly, I can't wait for my bank app to rate my carbon footprint and block me from buying steak. Nothing says freedom like a permission slip to use your own money.
Laugh all you want. This isn't some dystopian fantasy. They're building it in plain sight. Once you let them flip the switch, there's no going back. Cash is freedom. Programmable money is a leash. Don't say you weren't warned.
Introducing Patriot perfume, Freedom Musk, for the man who wants to smell like liberty, gunpowder, and questionable foreign policy.
One spray and you'll make bald eagles weep. Your enemies will tremble. Your dates will question their choices.
Available in scents like Second Amendment sandalwood, Red State Rose, and Don't Tread on Me Musk.
Patriot perfume, because freedom isn't just a right, it's an aroma.
May cause spontaneous pledges of allegiance. Side effects include extreme patriotism and inability to see nuance.
Let's talk about the early July heat wave, folks. 6 weeks early, tens of millions under excessive heat warnings, nights staying above 80 degrees Fahrenheit. No relief. It's not just hot, it's dangerous. Midwest, Northeast, South, record-breaking readings, even soaring above 115 degrees Fahrenheit heat index. And it's not climate doom porn, it's real people collapsing, and yes, even dying.
Connecticut alone confirmed a 77-year-old woman killed by heat stroke, with a few more deaths under investigation, all in late June. That's not weather news. That's public health in crisis. Meanwhile, elites in Washington talk about heat resilience as if it's a hashtag campaign instead of an emergency response.
Meanwhile, NYC and the PJM grid saw power prices spike to $2,400 per megawatt hour. Long Island hit $7,000 during peak demand. Rolling blackouts were nearly triggered. So where's the brave energy policy? Instead, they preach solar and wind, dismiss fossil fuel backup, and leave working families sweating while Met Gala attendees sip chilled rosé.
Let's be clear, this isn't climate science denial. It's basic math. Green energy alone can't handle peak demand. We need real infrastructure, reliable grids, baseload power, redundancy. When the lights go out, who do you grab? Your solar app or backup generator? Expecting rainwater to cool your house is not a plan.
And here's the kicker. The GOP's proposed budget would gut the low-income home energy assistance program. Right as energy poverty spikes, imagine seniors choosing between air conditioning and food. That's what ideological austerity looks like. Textbook cruelty disguised as fiscal responsibility.
Meanwhile, hospitals fill up, seniors collapse in unair-conditioned rooms, and kids get heat exhaustion in schools. But media will fill airtime with climate alarmism instead of practical solutions, like utility modernization, energy storage, real grid investment. It's all flash and no substance.
And who's paying? You. When heat domes collapse infrastructure, energy prices explode. Your bill, your blackout, your risk. But politicians travel in private jets to G7 meetings to lecture you on fossil fuels. That's hypocrisy, pure and simple.
It's not just a summer scorcher, it's proof we're running infrastructure on ideological fumes. When 240 million people are sweating through nights above average, and we still can't keep the lights on, something is deeply broken.
We need energy independence, storage solutions, real-time grid controls, not virtue signaling. Real freedom means reliable power, especially in crisis. That means baseload, nuclear, gas, not just flashy punditry.
Summer heat waves are normal, but early season extreme heat, that's a failure of planning. It's not nature's fault, it's ours. And until we treat energy infrastructure like national security, expect more of this.
All the sustainable summer ads won't keep someone from dying in a combat helmet in an overheated nursing home. This is life or death stuff. We need accountability, not buzzwords.
Let's demand solutions, upgraded grid, backup generation, real energy policy that protects citizens, not just solar fields near El Segundo. When elites ignore brownouts and blackouts, we pay the price.
So remember this shade of summer: darkness, danger, death by neglect, not exotic policy. That's the real story this week, and only matters if you care about freedom with the lights on.
Introducing the AI Emotional Support Parrot for the emotionally fragile adult who needs validation on demand, but from a bird.
Trained on millions of therapy sessions, it repeats what you want to hear, in your choice of accents, because real friends ask questions, but parrots just agree.
Comes with customizable affirmations like, "You're so brave," "It's their fault," and late-stage capitalism is to blame.
Never face criticism again. Buy your AI Emotional Support Parrot today and squawk your way to self-acceptance.
Not liable for emotional dependency, oversensitivity, or joining online cults. Batteries not included.
All right, welcome to Constitutional Crackups, where we highlight America's finest examples of government micromanaging your freedom in the dumbest ways possible. This week's winner, Florida. Shocking, I know. Turns out there was an actual law on the books banning unmarried women from parachuting on Sundays, because apparently nothing ruins the sanctity of the Sabbath quite like a single woman hurtling toward the earth at 120 miles per hour.
Honestly, you gotta admire the twisted logic here. We'll allow you to risk plummeting to your death on any other day, but don't you dare do it on the Lord's Day without a ring on that finger. Like it's some Puritan skydive purity test. Did they have inspectors waiting at the drop zone? Ma'am, we're gonna need to see your marriage license before you board the plane.
I'm imagining the poor sheriff who actually had to enforce this. Sorry, miss, I see you're unmarried. It's Sunday. Get out of the harness. We can't have harlotry in the skies over Daytona. Meanwhile, they're probably ignoring meth labs and alligators eating tourists because priorities.
And you just know some local politician was dead serious about this when they wrote it. Probably thought they were defending moral order, one jump at a time. Meanwhile, the rest of the state was like, can we focus on the hurricanes and pythons in the sewers?
It's this perfect example of lawmakers who just can't help themselves. They can't stop at, actual crime. They've got to legislate your lifestyle choices, your relationships, your parachuting schedule. Because nothing screams limited government like regulating your weekend hobbies based on marital status.
And let's be honest, Florida's not alone. Every state's got these dumb, ancient, weirdly specific laws that nobody remembers until they get enforced once and make national news. Like the time you find out it's technically illegal to whistle underwater in West Virginia or duel in Kentucky.
But the real joke is these laws never actually go away. They just sit on the books like ticking time bombs for some overzealous DA to dust off if they want to make an example out of you. It's why the rule of law turns into a joke, because no one knows what the hell the rules even are anymore.
Exactly. This is why people don't trust government, because they'll let real criminals walk. But God forbid you parachute unmarried on a Sunday. Priorities. Meanwhile, they're writing 600-page bills no one reads, filled with pork and carve-outs for donors. But don't worry, they're keeping single women out of the sky.
And it's not just old laws. Look at the new ones. Red flag laws with no due process. Bans on collecting rainwater. Fines for having too many garage sales. They never stop inventing ways to control you, and they never, ever repeal the old junk.
So yeah, constitutional Crackups is here to remind you your government will absolutely tell you how to live your life down to the dumbest details possible. Because nothing says liberty like a bureaucracy checking your marital status before you skydive.
Read the fine print, people, and maybe ask your state rep to clean up the law books instead of passing the next grandstanding bill that solves nothing. Otherwise, next time it might be you getting cuffed for an unlicensed bungee jump or unmarried zip-lining on a Tuesday.
Because at the end of the day, they don't want to protect you. They want to control you. And they're willing to look like total clowns while they do it. Which is why this segment will never run out of material. Thanks, Florida. You never disappoint.
All right, it's time for Woke Joke of the Week, our solemn duty to spotlight the dumbest example of coddling masquerading as compassion. This week, a university actually removed the word homework from the syllabus to avoid triggering student anxiety. That's right, they're literally banning the word, because apparently academic rigor is too much to handle for the modern, fragile scholar.
I mean, what do you even say at this point? Homework is now considered violent language, traumatizing, it's school. The entire purpose is literally to assign you work to take home. But God forbid you hurt someone's feelings with expectations. Next, they'll just mail everyone degrees with a note that says, "Congrats on surviving your safe space."
I'm picturing the faculty meeting. Okay, team, how do we protect our precious students from the trauma of learning anything? Let's remove homework, tests, grades, accountability, and eventually the concept of education itself. Just charge tuition for vibes. We'll call it emotional exploration and tack on a DEI fee.
Meanwhile, the administration is charging $40,000 a year to babysit adults who need emotional support animals to attend Intro to Gender Studies. And don't you dare question the value. You'll get labeled a bigot, a fascist, or worse, someone who believes in standards.
And it's not just homework. Have you seen the language guides they're pushing? Don't say mother or father. Don't say American. Don't say hard work because it's oppressive. At this rate, by graduation, they'll be fluent in Newspeak, but can't write a coherent paragraph without a therapist on speed dial.
It's parody that writes itself. And you know who wins? University bureaucrats. They're making six figures as diversity coordinators, ensuring no one says mean words while the kids leave with a mountain of debt and zero employable skills. Except maybe filing HR complaints.
What kills me is they call this equity and inclusion. No, it's infantilization. They're turning colleges into daycares for people who can legally drink but can't handle the word homework without needing a safe space. These kids will hit the real world and melt the second a boss gives them an assignment.
And the worst part? They think this is compassionate. But lowering the bar to the floor doesn't lift anyone up. It insults the students who can handle real expectations. It creates an entire generation of entitled, fragile adults who think being asked to work is oppression.
And it's not even about helping students. It's about selling an experience. Universities know parents will pay anything if you tell them junior is special and never has to feel uncomfortable. It's a business model built on avoiding reality and marketing victimhood.
So, yeah, congratulations, university administrators. You're creating the most coddled, unprepared generation in history. Hope they enjoy writing strongly worded tweets about late-stage capitalism while living in their parents' basement and blaming the system for expecting them to show up on time.
But hey, at least no one's traumatized by the big bad H word on the syllabus. Because if there's one thing employers love, it's someone who can't handle the concept of work. This is your future, folks. Safe spaces for everyone. Competence for no one.
So shout out to Fragile State University, where you can spend 4 years learning nothing, paying everything, and leaving convinced you're a moral genius while being unemployable outside of managing your own feelings.
This has been Woke Joke of the Week. Proof that higher education isn't dying. It's killing itself on purpose, one banned word at a time. But don't worry, it's for your safety. All right, time for Patriot Minute. Every week we take a moment to remind ourselves what real courage looks like. This week, Marine Corporal Kyle Carpenter, Afghanistan 2010, Taliban attack. Grenade lands on their rooftop position. Without hesitating, Carpenter dives on it, absorbs the blast, saves his brothers, nearly dies in the process.
He lost part of his jaw, nearly went blind, over 40 surgeries. But he survived, and he didn't hide from the world. He shared his story, spoke about sacrifice, resilience, and what it means to choose others over yourself. In 2014, he received the Medal of Honor, and instead of bitterness, he talks about gratitude. That's real heroism.
We talk a lot about freedom on this show, about the Constitution, about rights. But none of that means a damn thing without people willing to risk it all to protect it. Carpenter didn't do it for glory or politics. He did it for his brothers next to him. That's what service is.
So while the rest of us argue about nonsense, remember there are people who have literally thrown themselves on the grenade, so we can live to argue another day. That's why we do this segment. Not to glorify war, but to honor those who carry its burden for the rest of us. All right, folks, that's episode 5 of Data and Dissonance. Look, I know some of this gets heavy. Protests turning into riots, endless wars halfway around the world, politicians lying through their teeth while big tech censors the truth they don't like. It's easy to get cynical. Hell, it's almost expected these days. But that's exactly why we do this show. Because if we don't talk about it honestly, without the spin, without the party lines, who will? I love this country enough to be pissed off about what's happening to it, enough to call out both sides, and enough to believe we can still fix it. But that means refusing to shut up, refusing to look away, and yeah, refusing to apologize for caring about freedom, no matter how many times they try to shame us into silence.
And look, I know we joke, we mock, we make fun of these absurd policies and ridiculous laws. But don't think for a second it's because we don't care. It's because we do. Because laughter is sometimes the only weapon you have when the people in charge act like clowns while torching your rights. They want you demoralized. They want you passive. They want you too busy fighting your neighbor to notice they're selling you out to the highest bidder. So, yeah, we're gonna keep laughing at them. We're gonna keep exposing the hypocrisy. And we're gonna remind anyone listening that freedom doesn't survive on autopilot. It takes work. It takes vigilance. And it damn sure takes people willing to say what everyone else is afraid to.
Because at the end of the day, that's what this show is for. Not to spoon-feed you a party-approved narrative or to pretend we've got all the answers. We don't. We're just 3 people who are sick of the bullshit and willing to say so out loud. And if you're here listening, you're probably sick of it too. Good. That means you're paying attention. That means you haven't given up yet. Don't let them wear you down. Don't let them convince you your voice doesn't matter. It does. Every time you refuse to bow to the narrative, every time you call out hypocrisy, every time you demand better, you're fighting back. And that's all any of us can do. One conversation at a time, one truth at a time. So pour yourself a drink. Stay pissed, stay laughing, and stay free.
All right, that's it for episode 5 of Data and Dissonance. Liberty, lies, and laughs. If you stuck with us this long, you're our kind of crazy. Thank you.
Remember, the conversation doesn't end here. Speak up, push back, ask the questions they don't want you asking.
We'll be right here next week, armed with a mic, a stiff drink, and enough sarcasm to survive the news cycle. Stay pissed, stay laughing, stay free.
Take care of yourselves. take care of each other, and don't let the bastards tell you to shut up. Speak truth. Stir thought. See you next time.